Thank you, Mr. Chairman. But I'll be brief. I have to ask the question of why are we here? What's the purpose of this? And I think we can sum it up by saying it's overreach. And the reason that we're having to have this markup is because we've seen incredible examples of overreach. I mean, Americans at home, if you're wondering why congressional approval ratings may be sub 10%, it's because we're having to have a hearing in a markup like this to push back on the overreach. We had the Secretary of Energy here last week, and there were a couple of questions that I in particular asked and others asked. And I have to point out that, let's look at the priorities of the Department of Energy. When I asked the Secretary of Energy where our energy came from, how much annual electricity Americans use, the Secretary unfortunately did not know those answers that were clearly on the website that DOE publishes. And if you're thinking about national security issues right now, China, the CCP, our adversaries around the world have to be laughing at the fact that we're literally having to have a talk about consumer selection of appliances. Instead of focusing on where our energy is going to come from and allowing our country to produce the best sources of energy, we're literally having to push back on the overreach the Biden administration has consistently shown Americans that they're willing to do. And it comes in the form of now stoves and natural gas stoves in homes. So, it's for my constituents back home, I want you to know that every single day I'm going to be up here really focusing on the national security issues, which involve making sure that we can produce enough energy and we don't have to be reliant on other countries for our energy. And today is an example of supporting my colleague, Ms. Lesko, because she's doing a great job of pushing back on the overreach that this administration has consistently demonstrated that they're willing to do in the form of telling you what kind of stove you can have in your home. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you for this. I wish that we were not in this position to have this markup, but we are, and I appreciate the efforts to push back. With that, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Any other members seeking recognition?